Here Tony Woodcock's at loose head up against Ben Franks. Both players end up getting into a good low position, but Woodcock wins the hit and dominates early, with Franks coming back, although he receives significant help from George Whitelock, who illegally slips up to push on Woodcock. Look at the initial body height of both players. Their hips are at the same height. Woodcock's got his feet slightly further back than Franks, but they're both nice and low and in a good position to engage. As they go into the engage, their hips don't lift up. They only move forward, which lowers their knees. At the point of engagement, Woodcock's knees are slightly behind his hips, and as a result, his knees are slightly lower than that of Franks. That gives him a slight advantage. You can also see that Woodcock has dropped his head to get it under Franks, and as we now look at what happens after the engagement, you can see that because of Woodcock's head being down, his body goes down, which pulls Franks down with him. Woodcock wins the hit, and as a result Franks is under pressure, which forces his hips up, so now Woodcock has a significant advantage. But now comes the hard part for Woodcock. He's got to have tremendous strength and technique to lift his upper body back up whilst driving forward. Of course, a secure bind is critical here, and with the tight jerseys these days, that's a real problem for looseheads. Franks is good enough to be able to recover his position and stay low enough to start offering some resistance. The Crusaders won that scrum, but Woodcock's technique was fantastic. Here Owen Franks is up against Sekope Kepu in 2011. Kepu's body height is poor, and this shows what happens with poor technique. Look at the initial body height of both players. Their hips are at the same height, but Kepu's body shape isn't as good as Franks. Franks is a little lower and in a really good position to engage. As Kepu moves into engage, he steps forward, which is really poor technique. He's now got no way to get his knees behind his hips so he can drive forward. The contrast between the height of both players at the point of engagement is vast. Kepu's hips have gone upwards, whereas Franks has moved his hips forward and down, which has lowered his knees to get into a good low position. The height of their knees shows how much lower Franks has got, and that gives him a huge advantage. Because Franks is that much lower than Kepu, he's dominating. That forces Kepu's hips upwards, and we can see that what he actually starts to do is have to take multiple steps back to try and recover. Once you're going backwards in a scrum, there's virtually no way to go forward again, and as a result, Kepu starts to buckle and hinges, which he's rightly penalised for.